Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and after Bitcoin breaking to the south side from yesterday to today, we are now in it for the tech, baby. And you know what? I want to be wishing you, more importantly, well on this start to your hump day Wednesday over here from Helsinki, Finland. I want to say massive thank you to everyone who joined on in the Twitch stream last night, which we actually got to see the breakdown happen. And there's a reason why I push those Twitch streams at the time that I do. And the reason is because, well, we usually get around the New York Stock Exchange open, and that is typically when those moves like to occur. I will be showing, or perhaps I will not be showing because I don't actually have it up right now, but perhaps tomorrow I'll show, when I record another video, a study done of what are the most volatile times of the day. And what do you know, it's right around fucking New York Stock Exchange open for that first hour. So very, 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 very similar to traditional markets. Anyways, I will not be on Twitch later tonight, but I do want to say massive thank you to everyone who joined on yesterday's Twitch stream. Really, really fun, and also embarrassing at the beginning. As we were talking about the analysis, I was describing the exact trade that I want to take, and as I'm describing the exact trade that I want to take, it fucking happens, the trigger happens, and because I'm explaining it rather than actually putting in the order, well, missed it. And that's just trading at the end of the day. Sometimes just a massive whiff, and frustrating nonetheless, but at the end of the day, there's always next trade. So with that said, I want to talk about the next trade perhaps coming up in this video here, and as always, wish you the best of the best and the happiest as we get on over into the live scene right on over here, and check out the good old Krown Trading app, which by the way is 100% free and available at app.krowntrading.net. And the next update is going to be debuting the Trading Journal, which we are extremely excited about. So take advantage of that. Should be coming in like the next, I don't know, few days, perhaps maybe a week, something like that. I need to speak with the developer once again, but it is on track, and we are really, really happy about it. Anyways, looking at Bitcoin dominance, it has gone up a little bit. So altcoins rallying, or altcoins following in this falling. That's what I'm trying to say. English, not so good at it. Falling in this last on that last drop on Bitcoin. So what does it tell us? It tells us that altcoins are dropping harder versus US dollar than Bitcoin at this current point in time. And you can see that very, very easily by looking at the total market cap and then the altcoin market cap, which is getting hammered just by another % or two. On top of that, fear and greed index is now printing a 41. So we are nicely moving down here from a 44 read yesterday. Although we really want to see that get into like the 20 and below region when it becomes like actually in some ways actionable from a long-term perspective. Anyways, going over to the open interest, we have gained that next 100 million in open interest from yesterday to today, and that is kind of what we're looking for to drive this next sort of trending sort of price action, especially on the lower and medium time frames. So with that in mind, let's go check out the good old charts running over here. Bitcoin heading down and resting on the green 55 exponential moving average on the daily right here. And yes, to kind of follow up from yesterday's price action, and also kind of include what we spoke about on the stream as well, we did get that move down to 93.50 as I spoke about yesterday. The bounce was there, but it was not enough, of course, guiding back up to about 94.50, almost 9,500 on that first initial drive. That's a trade that I wanted to take, a nice little $100 to $150 trade right there. Easy little scalpy scalp. But more importantly, Bitcoin was kicked out of the critical zone, that blue box of peace and prosperity, which is now going to be the blue box of death and destruction at 95.50 right around here. So as soon as we got that drop below, that's what initiated our next target down to about 92, 9100, this blue box territory down around here. And yes, I do think that Bitcoin is going to have a short-term bounce over here, but I want to be very clear in stating this. Do not confuse short-term bounce with reversal. There is no talk of a reversal on Bitcoin as long as we are below 95.50, 9600-ish region right here, the blue box that we broke down from. I'm going to be very clear in stating this, and for the people who have been here and watching and paying attention and actually making an effort to listen, I stand by what I've been saying. If and when Bitcoin did break this area, that is at the point in time where I do get bearish and I do start to look for those lower side targets to be met, of which the first one already being met right here at around 91.50, 9200-ish region. And so I do think that we're going to see a short reprieve, short little bouncy bounce, probably bringing us back up maybe around 9400-ish region. But overall, I do not expect this bounce to turn into a reversal unless and only if, well, that's kind of backwards there, if and only if Bitcoin gets back above, again, this blue box territory right here. The analysis is essentially the same, that being the anchoring point that actually changes around the bias. So now that we're living below it, the bias is to a trending move to the downside, likely finding its territory somewhere between about 85 and 8600-ish region. Ultra ultimately, I do think that that is very, 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 very likely for this price action. Going back on over into the daily, that should be around where the daily 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average are going to start to be meeting each other. And you do see we have another blue box of peace and prosperity kind of shoved right here as well. And that's right above 8,600. So anywhere around 8,600, give or take about $50 is where I'd be initially looking down towards. The thing is that that area is no secret to anyone. It's absolutely no secret to anyone. If you go on crypto Twitter or crypto YouTube right now, everyone's talking about a target somewhere around like 8,800, 8,700-ish region. So I am a little bit skeptical that it's going to be that easy if Bitcoin does come down around there. It's also going to be a major Fibonacci as well, which tells me that we probably do, at the very least, we will bounce at that region. The question is, does the bounce turn into reversal? And just to show which fib it is, yeah, it'd be right around the 0.5. If we do make this on a dildo closing basis, it should be a little bit more accurate. Yes, indeed. Right around the same area. Anyways, my point is that I would be careful with that, because as far as getting bullish on Bitcoin, once again, still this critical area right here that Bitcoin just had a little bit of floundering about at that 95.50ish region, that is the critical one for me. And until Bitcoin regains that area, it is still in limbo as far as I look at the medium and higher time frames here. Anyways, I want to be very clear in stating that also, while I do think that Bitcoin will eventually make its way down here, I don't think that it's necessarily headed down there like right here, right now. I do think that, again, it's probably going to bounce in this blue box, and then we'll get a failed bounce, maybe somewhere around like 93.50, 9400 region, and then continuation to the downside. Momentum oscillators on the lower term timeframes are pretty damn beat up here, but not done just yet. We got 4 hours still headed down. 3 hours are hinting at across the upside. 2 hours should probably be there, although it is floundering around again and technically down right now. And hourly pretty intensely shuffled down there as well. And it looks like we probably get another swipe of these lows here at about 9,100 even. But I would be looking for a little bit of bullish divergence to be found, to be created, assuming that Bitcoin just doesn't break below our current low right now, or close below there on an hourly closing basis. And yes, can use the lower term time frames on a move like this during trending moves. They do seem to get things pretty damn well. Anyways, more importantly, we will be building up some divergences on our lower time frame RSIs as well. We do see that hourly RSI is more or less pretty damn mature within this region, and it'll only take another drive before it does create divergence. Now, 2 hour, not so much. So that does make me kind of reassess what I am saying here. Perhaps I will be wrong in that. And 3 hour, not going to be creating any divergence as well. So you know what? I will be wrong about a short-term bounce within this region if Bitcoin does essentially get like a 2 hour dildo closing below 9,100, about 9,100. We could call it a little bit more on the conservative side. If that does happen, I would look for targets down to about 8,950-ish, 8,900-ish region for a quick, nice move. But for right now, I would kind of still stay with that as my main disposition. I have no position. I want to be very clear in stating that I have no open position on Bitcoin at all whatsoever right now. And so I'll just be watching this one. Looking at the hourly, we do potentially see an hourly jewel buy signal perhaps being formulated. It's not necessarily there just yet. This would be a little bit too aggressive. I want to see it flatten out a little bit more. So if you do have the jewel, keep an eye on that, as it typically will get the bounces for these moves very, very well. But remember, an hourly jewel signal is not going to provide a reversal for any time frame that actually matters. It's just gonna give us a nice bouncy bounce. So as it is right now, Bitcoin is obviously trending to the downside, but I do think that it probably will put in a little bit of a bounce here and probably pop back up. Let's call it like 93.50, maybe 94.50-ish region, and then I look for a continuation to the downside after that. And obviously, using this area, the blue box territory that we're currently resting on right now, as another kind of inflection point, I would be looking for that continuation if and only if we get a closure below that region. And continuation very likely brings us down to about the 89.50-ish region for another very, 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 very short-term bounce. I want to be very clear in stating this as well. When I talk about these short-term bounces, I'm not talking about reversals. I'm not talking about fucking moon mode once again. Moon mode is postponed for a very long time until, well, I don't know about a very long time. That's always relative. But until Bitcoin regains 95.50 to 9,600, there's no real discussion of that. We have seen an actual reversal now, and considering that the monthly close is coming up relatively soon, this really can drive some more higher time frames worth of price action. So it's gonna be a close cut here, but I do want to show that as it is right now, the Bitcoin monthly is actually resting right on that red 10 simple moving average long term, which has been more or less a nice basing point. But I really do not want to see Bitcoin close below it. If it does close below it, very likely we probably do come down at the very least to the, to the lower end of the 8,000s, and then we'll come back after that point in time. But for right now, I do want to be on the record as saying what I've just been saying. So, keep an eye on that. We still got another few days, 3 days, it looks like, till the monthly total closes. So that's a goddamn eternity in cryptocurrency land. So, but worth considering at this price point, just because, well, it's pretty damn close, man. It's pretty damn close. Anyways, going over here to the weekly, I do want to remind myself that not only do we have the daily 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average kind of outlining the more medium time frame target for this around 86 to 87, we also do see that the yellow 20-minute exponential moving average on the weekly right here, which did get cross the upside of, the 10 simple cross the upside of the 21, more accurately said, is coming in around that region as well, a little bit higher at about 87, 87.50. So that perhaps could be the upper echelon of that blue box territory, and this cross very, very likely to get officially tested, which historically speaking, both to the upside and the downside, has been a really good inflection point for Bitcoin. So I do want to say that until this actually, god damn it, TradingView is not playing with me today. Anyways, what I'm saying here is that, anytime that we've gotten this cross both to the upside and the downside in Bitcoin history, it typically does get tested, at the very least around the cross, and more often than not, it does get tested into the cross, as you can see right here to the downside, providing a phenomenal sell all the way from $9,000 down to 6,900, 6,500 down around here. By the same token, right around here, we did get the cross the upside. This one did not test it as obviously, but during this consolidation right here, that is the interpretation of it. And what do you know? After that, just massive move on to the upside. So I would say from a medium and higher time frame perspective, I'm not necessarily like bearish. I'm looking for a move lower, but am I bearish? Well, not really, until we actually really start to destroy the yellow 21 exponential moving average. And of course, this can be shown much further back. Another cross the downside right here, test into it, and then boom, all the way down from basically 10,000 down to 3,100. Time before that was over here on the switch round from 2015 to 2018, and all the way through essentially. And a few one-offs along the way, but more often than not, it's getting things right, especially for the long-term momentum. So I would say that this is a massive consideration here, as very, very likely to come down around and test it. It does outline, of course, the upper echelon of that next blue box territory that'll be aiming if we do break this 9150-ish region, and I would be looking for a bounce around there. Now, also on top of that, just looking at the yellow 21 exponential moving average, no 10 simple on top of it, but just looking at the 21, we still do have a positive slope on, or actually, sorry. Barely a positive slope, but it's there. It counts. It fucking counts. No, it's barely there, but it is present. And more importantly, we do see that longer term for Bitcoin's macro market cycles. When it's in a bull cycle, likes to play off that 21 exponential average. When it's a bear cycle, likes to sell off on that 21 again. And I do want to say, while this is pretty damn stock standard for Bitcoin price action and has been more or less perfect for the history of this asset, there's something very important to be aware of. That's on a closing basis. We can very easily get massive wicks below, and that is another big consideration. We got one right here, we got one right here, we got one right here by just a smidgen. But overall, my point is that until we actually close, that wick is still kind of, it's fleeting, right? And my point is that Bitcoin can come down around here, which I think a lot of people are expecting right now. A lot of people are expecting like 8,800. I did the morning rounds of crypto Twitter, and everyone's posting about 8,800. I called it. It's like, all right, fair enough. But I wouldn't get too excited at that level just yet, because there are a lot of people thinking the same thing, and that does provide the opportunity for some thackeray with the market, kind of washing out over leveraged people who get a little bit too excited about quite an obvious area nonetheless. So I would be careful about that. I wouldn't just blindly buy it, but I do think that if we can get a weekly close right around there, it would offer up a very, very nice edge. And that's where I start to be interested in taking a long-term position. And of course, we do see that major fibs are coming in right around or a little bit below the 21 on the weekly as well. So I would keep an eye out on that. Looking at momentum oscillators for the weekly, we do have some issues right here, but more importantly, remember the weekly RSI zone. the one that I've been watching for a while, this blue box territory right here, which kind of been governing the bull market cycles and the bear market cycles for Bitcoin. We could extend this just a smidgen here. And remember, this is intra week. If we want to account for this right here, make it a little bit more conservative. Again, I am making excuses for it, so be careful with this. But more importantly, it is intra week, so it is not confirmed just yet. But if Bitcoin were to end down around here for the end of the week, that would be another area that I'm kind of interested in perhaps taking a long-term position. However, as you can see, at this price point at 91.50, we are already testing the bottom end, even if I make this in a more conservative way, all the way down to about 53.5. Before I had it around 55, and I do feel more comfortable with that read. However, if I am going to make excuses for it, I do want to show this because until we get this weekly total closure, I don't trust the read, especially like when we're quite literally on Wednesday with 4 more trading days left to go until the weekly total close. If you remember last week, we actually tested in the same zone around the same time, in the middle of the week. And obviously we ended well above over here in the 60 marker right around here on this tick. So keep that in mind, and it's something to consider. But right now we just need some time to transpire so that we can get a more accurate read on this. But for right now, it technically is there, so fair enough. If Bitcoin were to close the weekly here, do we play out? What is that more indicative of? Are we going to actually bottom here, or is this a fake out where we're actually going to go back down below? And this is going to be a lot more nasty than what I think myself and a lot of people are considering right now. It's probably going to be the more not nice interpretation of that. So I'll leave that for a few more days, but I do want to show that right now, and I also want to caution against getting a little bit too excited about that, just because it seems to me like a lot of people are going to be trying to front running these areas right here. Anyways, 89.50 I do believe would be the next sort of bouncy bounce territory if Bitcoin does break 91.50ish region that we're currently in. That's also the 382 Fibonacci retracement, and we do see that on the expected moves chart. I'd imagine that what do you fucking know? We got the 12-hour showing that the lower side of the first standard deviation is coming in right around 89.50. So it is less than a 16% chance that we actually break below there around the day's end. Doesn't mean that we can't have continuation coming into the next day. This is only speaking to the next 12 hours of price action, which after reading some comments, on YouTube, man, I need to remind myself not to read comments, but it seems to me like perhaps I don't do a good job of explaining it, but people really don't understand statistics. When we're looking at something like this, and when I say that we have a less than 16% chance to break, like say this level right here from days ago, that's only speaking towards the next period for that time frame. When we're looking at a 12-hour, that's speaking towards the next 12 hours of price action. Then it changes. And if we go over here to a daily, which I think is maybe a little bit more appropriate right now, we do see that zone can be extended a little bit further. So if Bitcoin does get this next leg down, I'd look for another short-term bounce at around 8,900 to 8,950-ish region, and then likely continuation to those ultimate targets. Now, of course, as we said, there's a lot of people looking at the same, wrong chart here. There's a lot of people looking at the same things here. A lot of people looking at that 8,800-ish level. So what does that typically mean? It typically means that we're either going to get front ran, meaning that, it bottoms out a little bit above, or we get overran and wash out all of the over liquidated people who are longing it, just thinking that Bitcoin's going to go to the moon right afterwards. Well, what's more likely in a scenario like this? I think it's more likely that we actually get one of those nasty wicks down like you saw back and over here, which is very much possible. But look for the weekly closures to be the equalizing factor. And again, we won't be able to say that, we won't be able to see that until Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then that only offers up an edge, which of course is, is not infallible, just offers up a nice statistical narrative to make a nice trade-off of, which I will actually be taking myself if it does present itself. Anyways, for right now, it's kind of like waiting time for me. I will play short-term bounces and whatnot, but other than that, don't want to get too involved because I do believe that the next big trade is staring us in the face. But it's going to take a little bit of patience, probably coming into like early next week, which does line up with our break at basically like the end of February, early March, which is just a few days away now. So we have been on schedule with that, just not necessarily the side that I want to see it break on. But at the end of the day, man, I'm a trader. I'm a trader first, a Bitcoin lover, I guess, second. So fair enough, have to be able to trade both uptrends and downtrends. That's what it is to be a trader, not to fall in love with a fucking asset. And that's the best way that I found to be. Anyways, okay, cool. So what else do we want to talk about? Let's talk about a little bit of doom scenario just really quick. Oh fuck, it's already 20 minutes in. I wanted to make this video a little bit on the shorter side. I would be needing a speech pathologist because I can't speak fucking English and I have some sort of massive, I don't know. Can't speak. Can't speak today. Anyways, let's talk about a potential doom scenario. When is it actually time to be concerned about Bitcoin long term? Well, I would say that if Bitcoin really does start to fail below some of these major moving averages, especially the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average, that's when things start to look a lot more like we're going to come back down and base around 8,000-ish region. But long term, I don't really see like a humongous reason to be skeptical about Bitcoin, as long as we're kind of riding this yellow 21 exponential moving average on the monthly, which Bitcoin has been holding up valiantly and bottomed out valiantly just a few months ago in December 2019. So again, do want to also incorporate the more macro view of this asset and keep a wide perspective on this. Also want to check out CMEs really quick as well. How we doing riding over here? CME is actually resting on the 200 simple as it is right now. So again, do I think that we're going to bounce here on the lower term timeframes? Yes, I do think so. But keep your eyes on this level right here. If this does break, I would be looking for a quick move down to about 8,900, 8,950, and then probably continuation after that to 85-ish, 86-ish. Within like a $50 increment there. Other than that, what else do we want to talk about? I feel like I'm missing something absolutely massive. I mean, this does look like a head and shoulders here, to be fair. Perhaps a little bit better spoken on the 12-hour. Oh, by the way, with this last move that we've seen, technically we haven't seen the closure just yet, but very, very likely this inverted head and shoulders is going to be a complete wash. It's going to be a swing failure pattern, and that also kind of makes me think that we probably do test a little bit more downside here than I think what most people are expecting, mostly due to the fact that, typically when you do get a swing failure pattern, things like to run the other way quite rapidly, not necessarily quite rapidly, but quite violently, and in that case, washing out a lot of over leveraged longs here could very easily bring us down to at the very least the middle of the 8,000s, probably lower than that. Potentially lower than that, I should say. I shouldn't say probably lower than that. Anyways, go back over to the lower term timeframes and line it up with the expected moves chart really quick. Okay, so currently we're resting on this on this blue box territory right here. That is the 9150 to 9200-ish level, and I would still kind of be stick with what I've been saying. Probably does try a little bit of a bounce here, but I do think that the bounce gets sold into. I'm not bullish until we get back above 9550, 9600 on at the very least a 4-hour closing basis, but preferably higher. Anyways, matching that up with the zones in our downside target, our next sort of downside target would be, let me put it in right now, not 8950-ish region. So let's go over, whoops, wrong tab once again. Let's go over to a lower term time frame on this. This is the 4-hour expected moves chart, by the way. So this is only speaking to the next 4 hours of price action. And what do we see? We do see that this is actually kind of nasty. We do see the third standard deviation is about $100 lower than that critical 9550-ish region. So is Bitcoin going back above that in the next 4 hours? Very unlikely. In fact, less than a 0.3% chance to go back above there. So pretty damn unlikely. At least for probably around today. By the same token, we do see the second standard deviation in the next 4 hours showing a probability of breaking less than about 2.5% to the downside, but encompassing this area right here, which probably anywhere between about 30 to 40% likelihood. Anyways, let's go over to the 12-hour and see how this one matches up. Yeah, we do see even the first deviation to the 12-hour to the upside is $200 below that 9550, 9600 level, and we do see the second deviation coming in right in the midst of it. So it would say that around daily total close, it's about less than a 2.5% chance that we do break back above, and this is like some sort of a bear trap right here. I don't think that that's what's going on. I do think that Bitcoin likely has some more downside, and we see that the bottom side of the first deviation is coming in right around about 8950, and we do see the third deviation coming in right around actually 86, 8550-ish region to the downside. So very, 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 very unlikely that, if things got like really nasty here, that we'd actually break below there, but a consideration nonetheless. Anyways, I do want to check out the daily really quick. Yeah, pretty much the same thing, showing very, very similar probabilities to the 12-hour. And I think that the 12-hour has actually just been getting things more or less better as of recent times. I do want to talk about one more major thing. Okay, so let's go over here to the daily for a second. Now, I want to put this specific actually we have a lot to talk about here, but I will try to make this video a little bit on the shorter end. Okay. We're looking at two major moving averages right here on the daily. We are looking at the white 200 simple, and this is not fucking racism, and we're looking at the purple 200 exponential moving average. You can see that long term, when these two cross, it does speak to the very, 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 very long-term momentum of this asset. When the exponential crosses to the upside of the simple, strong uptrend. When the exponential crosses to the downside of the simple, it is very strong downtrend for a prolonged period of time. That is because exponentials are essentially just, well, they're more reactive to recent price action due to the way that they're fucking calculated, really. But more importantly, looking at it longer term, we do see that it has pretty damn good efficacy, again, speaking towards the macro. Anyways, throughout this whole move to the upside from about 6,500 to 10,500, quite literally a $5,000 rally off the lows, we have just brought them two together, and we have not seen the bullish cross of these just yet. And what do we think is probably happening within this region? We're probably going to see price action get resolved into this region, and if it buoys back up and we get the 200 exponential moving average cross into the upside of the 200 simple, I would be looking for that as like a long-term bullish signal that it's time to be looking for long-term longs once again. We do see an example right in over here where the purple crossed the upside of the white, and during a nice consolidation phase, boom, massive move up to the downside right here. Doesn't call it exactly right. It's talking about the long-term momentum, not just like an actionable move at the exact moment in time. But of course, that essentially tells you to be looking at long-term shorts within this region when Bitcoin pops back up, and that was the right call, going all the way from 10,000 or above 10,000 back down to 65. Again, a $5,000, almost $5,000 move, and taking it a little bit further back on over here, same thing, calls the downside momentum extremely well, and tells you to be looking for shorts within this region in the context of an overall downtrend. And same thing back on over here. Actually no. Funnily enough, man, this one pops back up very, very fast. But again, tells you, it's no longer time to be like holding those long-term shorts. It's time to perhaps be considering a long-term long, especially as these moving averages flatten out and get a positive slope. We're seeing them both kind of flatten out and get, or at least the 200 exponential moving average getting a positive slope here. The 200 simple, not necessarily. And so that tells me that we probably come back down in this region and then maybe even go a little bit lower, maybe even down around like 8,350, 8,400-ish region. And then if you see a nice strong bounce back above all these guys, or both these guys, I should say, then yes, that's probably going to be the next big signal that's time to be looking for long-term longs once again. But as it stands right now, we are in the context of a daily uptrend. So, well, actually, no, we're not in the context of a daily uptrend. This is a downtrend right here. We do have lower lows and lower highs now confirmed with yesterday's price action. So fair enough. Actually, I think that I really have to step away from making I'd have to step away from saying anything more than that. We just have to watch it. What happens when Bitcoin comes into here, and this is probably gonna take a while to resolve itself. Let's go check out the other market leaders. What about Mr. Butyrol? Mr. Butyrol coming down pretty harshly as well. We did hit not only the $250 target that I had from yesterday, but we got further continuation, of course, down to the 240-ish level. Let me see what's going on right here. I think that is mostly going to more or less mirror whatever Bitcoin's doing. All major moving averages are bullish here, to be fair, but probably has some more downside. I would say ultimately somewhere around 229 to 225 region is going to correlate with Bitcoin into the mid 8,000s. So keep an eye on that region as well. Let's look at the weekly too. Yeah, weekly is kind of nasty here because we do have hidden bearish divergence now confirmed with confirming this as a local high. I mean, that is just nasty right there. Jesus fucking Christ, man. But what I'm talking about is this point and this point, massive higher high on RSI and more or less a lower high on price action. So where does this one find its footing? Well, I think the next sort of potential area would be somewhere in like 220-ish region. If that area does fail, I would be looking below 200, actually, a little bit below 200. Let's look at Mrs. Litecoin really quick. Mrs. Litecoin, same thing. We do have, or no, sorry, yeah, we do have hidden bearish divergence here as well. Well, no, not so much, at least not as obvious. Let's go down to a daily. I'm kind of at a loss for Mrs. Litecoin right now. She's going to try to bounce off this region once again. I would say that a daily to close below $67 though will likely be met with a move down to about $60 overall. Probably going to be correlated with whatever Bitcoin chooses to do from this current region. Let's go check out Mr. Ripple's nipples for a second, as I do want to do the rounds on him, and then maybe we'll do Link. Ripple, head and shoulders reversal. We spoke about this coming into this week, that this this was a critical area right here. It was broken 2 days, yesterday officially. 2 days ago gave the warning, and this potential golden cross between the green and the purple, 55 and 200, going to get averted, which is usually a really, really bad signal. And I do think that this thing's going to come down further back towards 22 cents, about 21 and a half to 22 cents region overall. It's going to correlate with that mid 8,000s level for Bitcoin, very likely. Let's see what other altcoins can we get really, really quick. Yeah, Link really quick. Probably going to try a little bit of a bounce versus the Satoshi pairing here, but overall, nothing to be too excited about until it gets back above about 43,000 Satoshis. On a weekly read, we are kind of retesting the breakout from yonder of 2019 August, or sorry, more accurately speaking, right around here, just about a month ago. But this whole consolidation coming in from the middle of 2019 till basically now. Again, not a death sentence in and of itself, but if things do get nasty to the downside, I would be looking for this trend line right here to get tested. So I was going to make another one, but it's unnecessary. Yeah. So overall, I wouldn't get too bear. I mean, this is still one of the best charts in cryptocurrency land. We basically hit the target to the upside, got front ran by maybe about 1,000 Satoshis. Fair enough. I was calling 50,000. We got up to about 49,000. Close enough is fucking close enough. Now getting the pullback of doom and despair, and gonna probably mirror whatever Bitcoin does as well, with intense areas coming in right around about 35,000 Satoshis and a little bit lower than that. This is like the last chance for love down here at around 29,000 Satoshis. Things get really, really nasty. But I would expect Link to be, one of the better actors within this region, as it has been one of the more healthier charts. Let's go check out one more, maybe Cardano really, really quick. Yep, another lower high. Another lower high in the context of a mostly... Whoa, Jesus fucking Christ! Oh my God. What the actual fuck was that? Sorry. I don't know why that happened. I like to listen to classical music. Same thing going on right here, though. Head and shoulders reversal. Probably coming back down at the very least to 530 Satoshis. And I think that most altcoins are going to get kind of cream pied here versus Satoshis. Let's go check out actually Bitcoin dominance really, really quick. Then we'll get on over to traditional markets and wrap this bitch up. We're already 30 minutes in. And yes, indeed, rallying back up. And I'd expect this to go up another percent or so. And if this gets back above 66.5%, I do think that it's going to rally up here. At least another percent. But if it gets back above 66.5%, that would be about, actually, that would be a little bit more than 1% from this current region. We're going to see altcoins get slacked once again. So keep an eye on that. If not, if you do see a reversal right here, that's going to be the next big buying opportunity. But again, versus Satoshis, not necessarily versus US dollar. But the way that this is kind of reapproaching this major breakdown level from like a month ago so quickly is typically quite bullish for this chart, which this is a dominance chart. So that would be not good for the altcoins. Anyways, let's go check out some traditional markets. Oh my God, we need to talk about traditional markets right now. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, so I spoke about yesterday likely bouncing back up and testing around 325 region. We got that test. What I didn't talk about was what happens if that test fails and comes back down immediately. Well, that. And as you can see, I would have, if I were trading this, I would have been absolutely wrecked trading this yesterday. The true move was to be selling this area right here. We would have gotten that, but I would have missed all of this going down right here. I would have expected that we would have spent a little bit more time testing this region, but immediate rejection and then straight down to fucking 312. Jesus Christ, man. I do think that traditional markets are going to be likely heading for the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average as well, actually, which is down around low 300s, about 307.5 to 304 region, and probably expect a nice bounce over there. That is pretty much the last major breakout that we saw from October 2019, essentially, till where we are right now. And I would be expecting at the very least a very, 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 very nice bounce there and potential reversal as well. I am skeptical when I see these sorts of reversals born off of something like a virus fear. We've seen these things in the past. They do provide nice short-term and medium-term reversals, but as far as like a macro-term reversal, I wouldn't consider this a macro reversal until you get dailies closing below about 305 or just 300 if you want to be more conservative with that read. This is just This is just nasty. By the way, Jewel calling it pretty damn well. I think we spoke about that yesterday. Okay, cool. So I think we got that. Let's talk about, do we want to talk? No, I don't want to talk about Forex today. Let's go back on to Bitcoin really, really quick. I want to see if there's any Jewel signals to be aware of. Yes, we spoke about this during the Twitch stream yesterday. There was a Jewel continuation sell signal, basically hodl your short signal from 24th of Feb, which was 2 days ago, and then verified during yesterday's Twitch stream. That got the move from about 95 all the way down to where we are right now, and typically those are going to have a little bit more on them. So things not looking all that hot right now. 12-hour Stokes also called it very, very well yesterday as well, getting the momentum, rejection, and getting the move outside of the bearish control zone and back down. And we got plenty of room to fill out down here. So I do think that, to kind of wrap up my thoughts as we get to the end of this video, I do think that Bitcoin lower term timeframes probably going to try to bounce off this region, maybe another swipe of the lows at like 9100. But as long as we don't get 2-hour dildos closing below there, I do think that it's probably going to try a little bit of a bouncy bounce, maybe bring us back to like 9350-ish region. I want to check back where the expected moves chart is. Okay, so I believe I said 9350-ish earlier. I think that would be pretty unlikely looking at this right here. Maybe even looking at like a 4-hour would be better. Yeah, maybe 9,300, so like a couple $100 perhaps. But overall, I do think that bounce would likely fail, and we get continuation to the next bouncy bounce territory for the lower time frames at around 8950, of which I'd want to see in real time, but probably bounces back up into the low 9,000s, and then I look for overall continuation into the coming weeks, probably down to about 85, 8600-ish region, and that's where things start to get interesting once again. But right now, I am as I said for the last few weeks, as long as we're above 95.50, I ain't bearish. Well, now that we're below it, I am overall bearish. So fair enough. If Bitcoin can regain that area, and I'd be happy to call this a bear trap and be bullish once again. But until that happens, no, I am not. And that's, I think, where I'm going to leave you off today. So it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you on this nice little start to my Wednesday morning, if it might be late night over there for you in the Western Hemisphere. Well, good night, good evening, and I wish you some sweet dreams. And I will be signing off now. Take care, and until next time.